Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of my tutorial on how to program the FMS/UNS in FlyJSim's Q4XP aircraft. Within this video I'll be covering several topics including SIDs and stars, the direct-to function, as well as VNAV and master crossfill. Please do keep in mind throughout the video that I do not have any real-world experience and that this video is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used for any real-world training or education. Please enjoy the video and I hope it's useful to you. Okay, now that we're in the aircraft, I'm going to come down here to the FMS/UNS and I'll quickly just brush over what I covered in the last video. So I've already completed the fuel page as well as the flight plan page. I've entered our waypoints, however I haven't inputted any SIDs or stars. And this leads on to what I'll show first within this tutorial, which is how we can input SIDs, stars and approaches in the Q4XP. So to do this, obviously there is no departure or arrival key on our buttons here, unlike the Boeing 737 FMC. So to be able to do this in the Q4XP, first make sure you're on the flight plan page, which should look like this, and input your route. Following this, you're going to click the menu key. Once clicking the menu key, we get all these options. The only two that really relate to us at this point are the depart and arrive keys. For the departure SID, we're going to click depart. First, it asks us what runway we would like to use for departure. According to the winds here at WellCamp, we're going to be using runway 12. As we can see on the list, number 1 is for runway 12 and number 2 is runway 30. So we're going to select number 1. We hit number 1 and hit enter, and now it asks us what SID we would like to do. We're doing the Woody 1 SID today over to join our arrival. So we click the we select Woody 1, which we can see is number 5 here on the list, by entering number 5 and hitting enter. And it would ask us if there is a transition, although on this departure there are no transitions. So we leave this blank and we just hit enter. Now we can see we've locked in, we're departing WellCamp, runway 12. The SID is the Woody 1 and transition is blank as there is no transition. That's no problem at all. Now we click this key to go back to the flight plan page. We quickly make sure that we are correct here. We've got WellCamp. This is one of the height restrictions for the SID. Then we go Bivat, Woody, and over to Brisbane. Now we're going to do the same thing for a star. Obviously you may do this when you're in the air. If you were flying on VATSIM, as you may not have been cleared. However, as I know what star I'll be doing when I get to Brisbane and I'm flying offline, I'll do that now. So similar to the departure, we go into the flight plan page, click menu and click arrive. Similar to the SID, it asks us what runway we'd like to arrive onto. We're going to be arriving onto runway 19 right in Brisbane, and that's number 4 on our list, so we'll enter number 4. Our star is going to be the Woody star, the Woody 1 Alpha. Or on this list it says the Woody 1 Alpha, although it's the Woody 1 Alpha in its full length. And as you can see, there are several pages with stars here, so we just use the next and the previous keys to be able to scroll through these. We can see the Woody 1 Alpha is number 11 on our list, so we enter number 11. There's no transition on this arrival as well, so we leave that blank by hitting enter. Finally, it asks us what approach we'd like to do. You can see runway 19 right, all the approaches are at the top as we selected runway 19 right. We'd like to do an ILS approach, so we are going to select number 1. And now it asks us what transition we'd like for the approach, and as per the star, we're going to be joining the approach via the Osoko transition. That is number 1 on our list, so we type number 1, press enter, and you can see we're arriving at Brisbane, runway 19 right. Our star is the Woody 1 Alpha, no transition, and our approach we are doing the ILS for runway 19 right via Osoko. We click flight plan here, and we can see, oh no, there's no link here. That's essentially a flight plan discontinuity, which is no problem at all. We can see obviously the SID finishes at Woody here, and the star is starting at Woody. So obviously these are overlapping. To be able to delete this no link and fix the continuity, we have to click on it and select it. Now it brings up a menu on the right hand side, and we have the option to delete it. If we click delete, it asks us if you want to confirm it, which is by highlighting it, and if you click that again, it has deleted the no link. But obviously still we've got two Woody waypoints here, which are both the same. As you can see, this one is 0.0 miles after Woody because they're the same waypoint. So we're going to delete this waypoint here. If we select Woody by clicking the key that's next to it, it gives us this option. We can look at the information, we can overfly it, or we can delete it. Obviously we just want to delete it, so we click it, select it, it highlights it to confirm, we click it once again, and now that's been deleted. To be able to get back to our flight plan page and get rid of this menu, we simply click on the one that is selected and it gets rid of that. Now we can double check our flight plan and run through all the waypoints. This is obviously the star, still the star, and we can see now the ILS overhead Osoku, and it says here ILS Delta Runway 19 right, which is just showing that that is the ILS there where we intercept. And just here, this is, I believe, the end of the approach there. This is runway 19 right here, which we would be theoretically at 67 feet. That's the end of the approach, and this is the missed approach. There's no need to worry about the no link after that, as that's just to Brisbane, so it doesn't matter. So that's all for SIDs and stars and approaches. Now I'd like to quickly touch on the direct to key. So as we can see here by our SID, it hasn't depicted the SID correctly. If we were taking off on runway 12, we would be flying the runway heading above 2,400. We'd be making a right-hand turn, doing an orbit to intercept our track up to Bivat. That doesn't matter though. Let's assume that after departure or after completing that right-hand orbit to loop around, we want to direct to Bivat. So what we do is we come down here and we see this DTO, Delta Tango Oscar. We click this key and this gives us the option to direct to. This is fairly similar to how it works in the Airbus aircraft in the Airbus MCDU. Now we have all these options. Do we want to go direct to Wellcamp, Bivat, Woody, and so on? We can look all through our flight plan here and select any waypoint that we choose. Let's say we've been given clearance direct to Osoku by air traffic control for the ILS runway 19 right approach at Brisbane. We see this is number 11 on our list, and we're currently inputting data up here, which is where we want to go to direct. So number 11, we'll enter 11, and we hit enter. And now we've just activated our flight plan to fly direct to Osoku. As we can see, that's over at Brisbane to join the arrival over there, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So now that we've done that, that is from our present position to Osoku, and the next will be Charlie Foxtrot 19 right for the approach. Now there's a couple more options here in the direct to function or page. We have the option to select left, right, auto, holding, and divert. The left and right keys are essentially which way you want the aircraft to turn when tracking direct. So say air traffic control has told you to turn to a waypoint that is on your right, however they want you to do a left-hand loop to intercept direct track, if that makes sense. So essentially they've said turn left, track direct for, let's say, Bivat. So they've said turn left, so we select left, make sure it is grayed out and there's no arrow next to it as that shows what's selected. Turn left, direct Bivat. Now we type in number 2, enter, and we would be going to the left for Bivat. And that's pretty well how the direct to function works. I will now cover the master crossfill function. This is essentially to allow the flight plan to transfer onto the co-pilot side or the first officer's side. And as we can see on their display, there is no flight plan on the nav display for the first officer's side. No matter how far out you zoom, there is nothing on here, meaning that there's no flight plan in here. There are two ways of cross-filling this. You can either do it after accepting the position initialization, and you can click on this key, Master Crossfill. If you click this and click from FMS 1, it will load and it'll completely port over your flight plan, and it'll have two flight plans. You'll have one on the captain side and one on the co-pilot side or the first officer side. let's not do it through that way. I'm going to show the other way of doing it, which is essentially through clicking on the flight plan page, clicking menu, and clicking crossfill flight plan. Now, from FMS 1, this is FMS 1 on the left-hand side. Let's click that. Crossfill receive in progress from UNS to UNS, and we can see that was pretty quick. It's just loaded in all of our waypoints. There we go, we've got all of our waypoints here, and it's just as if we just entered them all manually, and we can see now we have this on our nav display. So that's all for the master crossfill flight. Hello everyone, and welcome to flight level 150. We're up here in the cruise, and currently about 21 miles from Woody, the start of our arrival. So we're going to come down here to the UNS, and I'm just quickly going to briefly run through the VNAV function. And just a quick heads up, the VNAV in this aircraft can only be used for descent. You can't use it for the climb. For a departure that has altitude constraints, that's pretty well up to you to do. So let's click on VNAV here, and we can see our constraints got to be at 9,000 at VON, and we're 30 miles to that from our present position. First thing we want to do is enter in a target vertical speed. So let's highlight that, and let's type in, as a general rule of thumb, about 1,500 feet. So this is minus 1,500 feet per minute. Click enter, and we can see we're 3 miles from our top of descent. It's given us an alert here through the message page saying that we're pretty close to it. And that's all you have to do to be able to arm the VNAV and pretty well program it. But to be able to enable it, you've got to wait for this vertical situation / vertical path thing to come up on your PFD, on your primary flight display next to the artificial horizon here. Looks like about to overspeed, but let's just slow down a little. There we go. And you've got to wait for it to come up, and then you can hit VNAV. Oh, sorry, you've got to select the lower altitude first, obviously, and then hit VNAV. You can see that it's armed as it's currently white, and as this moves, it'll capture, and it'll say VNAV path is engaged on there. So let's say set our altitude down to 3,000, but yeah, we're now on the VNAV path, so let's just go back to flight idle so we don't overspeed here. And that's essentially how you do it. But if you enter in your VNAV, say, about 20 minutes before you're even scheduled to descend, this vertical situation / vertical path indicator will not show up as you're too far away from it, and there's pretty well no point of it being there. So I believe it's around 10 miles prior to top of descent, that'll show up. And that's the only time you're able to arm VNAV. It won't let you arm it if you're before 10 miles. You've got to be within 10 miles of top of descent, and then you're able to arm that. So that's essentially all for VNAV. You can see here our deviation from the vertical path is about 14 to 15 feet, which is really nothing at this point. And our target vertical speed is changing just so we can meet these constraints. And that's essentially all there is to VNAV. You can also do a vertical direct to by hitting the VTO key, and we can do a vertical direct to, let's say, the 3,000 foot constraint here at ATRAX, number 4, enter, and now we're tracking for that vertical constraint at ATRAX rather than following the STARS constraints. That's all for this video, and that pretty well wraps up my tutorial on the UNS / FMS in the FlyJSim Q4XP. I do plan on bringing out more videos and making a video series on the FlyJSim Q4XP in general, which I'm hoping to bring out tutorials on how to fly the aircraft, how to start the aircraft, and other topics. So please do let me know what you thought of this video in the comment section, and do leave a like and subscribe. Once again, thank you for watching.